The blizzard had been raging for 3 cycles now, and Alpha Crather could feel ice crystals forming on his thick fur. As he trudged through the waist-deep snow, his powerful legs, built to endure the harshest conditions of Theta 7, were beginning to falter. The twin suns had disappeared behind walls of white fury, and even his thermal vision could barely penetrate the storm's veil. But none of that mattered. His cubs were out there. Crather was a Vorithian, a species bred by evolution to survive. Temperatures that would freeze most sentient beings solid within minutes. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with dense fur capable of insulating against -200 and claws that could tear through. Reinforced steel. Vorithians were the apex predators of the frozen world of Theta 7. They feared nothing. Until today. His mate Shara had taken their 3 cubs, Venik, Tora, and Littlumsa, to the outer territories for their first hunting lesson, standard practice. Cubs needed to learn early. But then the storm had come, sudden and violent, the kind that happened once every 50 cycles, the kind that killed. Crather had lost contact with them for hours ago. Their tracking beacons had gone dark, likely frozen or damaged. He'd assembled a search party, but one by one. Even the strongest warriors had been forced to turn back. The storm was simply too powerful. But an alpha never abandoned his young. His communicator crackled, a rare moment of clarity cutting through the interference. Alpha reading. Thermal signature, coordinates, human settlement, ruins. Human settlement. Crather's mind raced. The humans had established a research outpost on Theta 7 seasons ago. Studying the planet's unique ecosystem, they were fragile creatures, needing heated suits and enclosed habitats to survive what Vorithians considered mild weather. Most of his kind had dismissed them as weak, soft-skinned things playing at exploration. The outpost had been abandoned when the storm warnings came. Sensible for such delicate beings. But if the thermal signature was near those ruins, perhaps. Crather changed direction, following the coordinates his tracker had managed to transmit. 20 minutes later, he saw it, the collapsed remains of the human structure, half buried in snow and ice, and there, barely visible, the faint orange glow of heat. He approached cautiously, his natural predator instincts on high alert despite his desperation. The entrance to what appeared to be an emergency shelter had been reinforced with debris and packed snow, forming a crude but effective windbreak. Someone had built this recently. Crather tore through the barrier with his massive claws, and warm air hit his face. Shocking in its intensity, he had to duck deeply to fit through the entrance. What he found inside stopped him cold. A human male, thin and shaking, was hunched over a makeshift heating unit cobbled together from what looked like power cells. Broken equipment and sheer ingenuity. But that wasn't what captured Crather's attention. It was his cubs, all 3 of them, huddled together, wrapped in thermal blankets and sleeping peacefully. The human looked up, and Crather saw exhaustion etched into every line of his face. His lips were blue, his hands trembling violently. He wore no thermal suit, just standard clothing, wholly inadequate for the killing cold outside. "You must be the father," the human said through chattering teeth. His translator device flickered weakly. I'm Ossel. Found them 6 hours ago. They were trying to dig a shelter. The small one, sir, I think, was already showing hypothermia signs. Crather stared, his mind struggling to process this. You saved them? He asked. Ossel nodded weakly, gesturing to the heating unit. Burned through all my emergency power reserves. Had to strip my suit's heating elements. He laughed, a broken sound. Turns out your cubs need higher temperatures than I thought. Kept them at 40 degrees. 40? Crather felt something crack inside his chest. That was warm even for Vorathian cubs. This human had pushed the temperature to dangerous levels for himself to ensure the cubs stayed comfortable. Why? Crather asked, moving closer to his sleeping children, checking them over with practiced care. They were warm, breathing steadily, showing no signs of distress. Why not save yourself? Why not use the power for your own survival? Ossel's eyes began to drift closed. Because they're children, he whispered. What kind of person would I be if I let children die? He smiled faintly. Besides, your people probably think humans are weak. Couldn't let you be right about that. The heating unit flickered, and Crather understood immediately. It was failing. The power was nearly exhausted, and this human, this fragile creature, had given everything to save cubs that weren't even his own species. Without hesitation, Crather removed his own thermal cloak, meant for emergencies, lined with heat-reflective materials. He wrapped it around Ossel, then activated his emergency beacon with a specific frequency. What are you doing? Ossel mumbled. Saving your life, Crather replied, as you saved my children's. He gathered his cubs gently, careful not to wake them, then turned to Ossel. Can you walk? Not sure. Haven't felt my legs in hours. Crather made a decision that would have shocked his entire clan. He fashioned a crude sling from materials in the shelter and secured his cubs to his back. Then, with surprising gentleness for such a massive creature, he lifted Ossel into his arms. Then I will carry you, human, he said, as you carried the burden of my failure as a father. You didn't fail, Ossel protested weakly. The storm was impossible. Perhaps, Crather said, beginning the journey back through the blizzard, his body shielding both the human and his cubs. But you succeeded where I could not. You taught me something today, Ossel of Earth. What's that? Ossel murmured. Crather looked down at the shivering human who had sacrificed everything for children not his own. Who had burned through his own life to keep strangers warm? Who had proven that strength wasn't measured in claws or fur or size? That humanity's greatest weapon isn't technology or adaptability, the Alpha said quietly. It's that you cannot help but care, even when it costs you everything. Even when logic says to save yourself, you see a child in danger, and you act. No hesitation, no calculation. Ossel smiled as consciousness began to slip away. We're pretty stupid that way. No, Crather said, holding him tighter as he pushed through the storm, his emergency beacon guiding his rescue team to their location. You're remarkable, and I will make sure every Vorathian knows what you did today. You will want for nothing on this world, Ossel of Earth. This, I swear. Later, after both the cubs and the human had been safely returned and treated, after Melissa, The human outpost doctor had confirmed that Ossel would make a full recovery. Crather stood before the Council of Alphas. The humans are not weak, he declared. They are strong in ways we never understood. One proposed a formal alliance, a bond of families. And as he told the story of what one human had done in a frozen den, with death at his door and children not his own in his care, the council understood. Humanity had proven itself worthy not through conquest or displays of power, but through the simple, profound act of keeping 3 cubs alive when any rational being would have saved themselves. Sometimes the greatest strength is found in the softest hearts.